Welcome to AHS Countdown. I'm your host, Reese Kinder. Today, joined by my co-hosts, Cherish Jackson and James Tippins. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing good tonight, Reese. Looking forward to the game.
Yeah, Reese, really excited to see Auburn Tigers take on the Enterprise Wildcats tonight.
Yeah, two in-region opponents playing each other. But first off, let's get into Auburn's last game against Opelika, the 100th game of that rivalry. Auburn took the win 17-10 with Casey Myers throwing for 245 passing yards, even caught a touchdown pass last week. Auburn picked up tons of momentum with that win against Opelika last week. And, yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing Auburn possibly take a win here against Enterprise tonight. And time for a quick break now, as you guys will hear an ESPN 106.7 interview from your very own Keith Etheridge. But don't go away, because when we come back, James Tippins has the offensive breakdown.
We welcome in our guy, head coach Keith Etheridge of Auburn High School football is on the phone lines with us now. Coach, it's great to hear from you. Great to have you on the show once again. And look, I know last week, we talked about it earlier. Last week was tough for you and your family, but everything went well. Yeah. Prayers and thoughts to you and your sweet mom, and glad that everything went well, and you got a win to cap it all off.
Yeah, it could have been a devastating week for our family last week, but God is good, and man, it ended up being a great week. My mom came through her surgery well, and she's recovering right now in Birmingham. So, that's an answered prayer, and our kids did a great job. Thursday night, finding a way to win.
Well, you did just that, going to Bulldog Stadium against Opelika in the 100th all-time meeting, and you walk away victorious again. Coach, I don't know if everybody knows it. We told them on the broadcast, but you've never lost to Opelika. Auburn hasn't lost in a while, but you've never lost to the Dogs. You just got a little something extra for them every year.
Well, I've been blessed, man. It always comes down to one or two plays. I mean, it always does. It's always a great football game. Got a lot of respect for Opelika. We've been fortunate to be on the winning side. The 5 years I've been here, and they've got they have a great program. Coaches came in and done a good job over there. Coach Moore has. So, we got a lot of respect for them, and we just, it's one of them rivalries that, it always comes down to one or two plays.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly right. It was a year ago with a late score for Auburn High, and then an interception by Alex Gamston. This year was a late score by Auburn High, and then a fumble recovery for your defense as Opelika was driving down the field. I mean, what is it about this rivalry in this game, Auburn and Opelika, now that you've played it yet again the fifth time? What is it that just makes it so darn hard to win this game?
I think it's just, we're so close. We're sister cities, we all of our kids know each other. They played Little League against or with each other, and it just makes it that much bigger of a game. The atmosphere at the game's always intense. It's always a packed house. Usually it's sold out by Wednesday. So, it just everything makes it a huge game.
Well, 17-10 was the final score. Auburn beating Opelika, moving 2-1 on the season, but also starting region play 1-0. Not that the Auburn-Opelika rivalry needed any more juice to it, Coach, but now that it is a region game, you start the year 1-0, and we know what that means in terms of making the playoffs. But what impressed you the most about your team last week, coming off the loss against Vestavia and turning around and beating Opelika?
Yeah, I'd have to say our defense played great. Defensively, we came out and played unbelievable the first half. I think that Kaysen had a really good game. Cross stepped in. He threw the pass on the fake punt.
Right.
All of our receivers played well. I think that we're getting there. We're still a work in progress, and I told everybody it would take, some games under our belt before we started clicking offensively. And I think right now we're moving the ball really well. We've just got to score in the red zone.
We got to score in the red zone, and you and I were talking a little bit too. Even just cutting down on a few penalties here and there, I think will really help your squad continue to move the ball up and down the field and punch it into the end zone a few more times. But, man, nothing wrong with a 17-10 win on the road against Opelika where a lot of things were going against you. But now you start 1-0. Your road trips are done for a while, Coach. We're back home at Duck Sanford Stadium for an entire month, and I know you and the guys are excited for that.
Yeah, it's great to be back home. Love playing at the Duck. The atmosphere there is great for high school football. We got of course, you got the unit there, our student section who does an unbelievable job. Our band's great. Our cheerleaders are awesome. It encompasses the entire Auburn High School and the entire city of Auburn on Friday night because that place gets packed, and it's hard to come into Auburn High School and win.
It is, and there's no doubt about it, as again, Auburn goes on the road last week to beat Opelika, now home against Enterprise this weekend, and 4 straight Fridays for home games for Auburn High School. Enterprise, Jag, Moody, and then Central before the next road trip for the Auburn High Tigers. We're talking with head coach Keith Etheridge of Auburn High School football here on ESPN 106.7, and now that you have flipped the page and you guys are getting ready for the Enterprise Wildcats coming up tomorrow night, what can you tell the folks at home who are listening right now what to expect from Enterprise come up tomorrow night?
Enterprise is coming off a loss, and they've got a good football team. They got beat by a really good Dothan team who runs the ball extremely well. Enterprise came in and upset us at home a couple years ago. They had a really good game plan coming in. We turned the ball over some, and gave them opportunities, and they capitalized. So we got to come ready to play. They got a good football team. They got a lot of weapons that can hurt you. They like us are replacing a lot of high profile kids. They had 3 D1 kids, and that they're replacing. So they're kind of like us. They're in a position where the more games they get under their belt, the more comfortable they get. And I expect them to come in and bring their A game.
Well, last year was so much fun, and I remind people of what the stakes were for that game. I mean, a top-5 matchup where both offenses were clicking, just D1 talent all over the field, and went down there and won by several scores. And, Coach, I told people last year that after that game, the long drive home, which I'm thankful we don't have to make this year, it was the drive home after that game where I think we really realized how good Auburn High's team was a year ago. Is there any sort of mantra this year where a win like this coming off of the Opelika game could kind of give you guys that boost in the backstretch?
We definitely could use a win in this game, for region standings, for, confidence. I think what will help is if we start getting in the red zone and start putting points on the board, on a consistent basis. We've got to put points on the board. We could have been up 21 points at halftime last week, very easily. But we left a lot of points out there, and we got to quit doing that. We got to get better in that aspect. We drove the ball inside the 20s, or outside the 20s all night, last Friday, and then we'd get in there and we would kind of sputter, So we got to get better there. And a win Friday night would definitely help with confidence and help us, to get off to a 2-0 start in the region, which would be huge.
We're talking with Auburn High's head football coach Keith Etheridge here during the Thursday edition of On the Line. Coach, we named Kason Myers our Orthopedic Clinic High School Player of the Week, starting quarterback for you and your Tigers, because of his incredible performance a week ago. He had, in this game against Opelika, 245 yards of passing and a touchdown, 87 yards of rushing, and he caught a touchdown pass as well. What have you seen from your new quarterback this year that gives you confidence in big-time region games like you'll have again tomorrow?
Well, first of all, he's a great young man. He is a class individual who works hard and very athletic. He has a lot of arm talent. He can throw the ball from every angle. You see him roll out and gets pressured, and he can go from the low angle. takes it up to the high angle when he's sitting in the pocket. And, you know, he's got a quick release, and he's very accurate. And he moves defenses with his eyes. He does a good job of moving defenses with his eyes and doing some little things that are really important. Case is a kid who's played a lot of football. You know, I think he's been a starter since he was a freshman, and, you know, and it shows. You know, he has poise back there. He can pull it down and he can run it. You know, I mean, he's like, you know, once he pulls it down and run it, he becomes a running back.
Yeah.
He's that shift. He has some shiftiness and he has some power. You know, and he's fast. So, you know, he's tough to handle back there. You know, I'm glad he's on our team and we're not having to prepare for it.
Well, he's been a great addition to you and your offense so far this season. The receivers are fun to watch. Getting the running game going a little bit too. Should be a lot of fun. Once again tomorrow night, Auburn versus Enterprise. It's the Tigers and the Wildcats back home at Duck Sanford Stadium. If you can't get to the game to watch the Tigers, you can listen to us over on Wings 94.3. Myself, Rob Pate, and Jack Hutton will be on the air on the Auburn High Sports Network. Pregame starts at 6:30 and kickoff at 7, and we'll get to cover another game for Auburn High School football and head coach Keith Etheridge, who is joining us right now. Coach, we appreciate you and your time as always, and again, just so thankful and joyful for you and your family and that everything went well the week ago, and we're excited to see you guys again tomorrow night.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate everything y'all do, brother. God bless and go Tigers.
Go Tigers. That is head coach Keith Etheridge of Auburn High School football. He joins us every Thursday right here on ESPN 106.7 to start hour number 2, and appreciate his time. You can catch more of Coach Keith Etheridge as he sits down with me in our pregame interview every Friday night over on Wings 94.3. Again, pregame starts at 6:30 with kickoff at 7 on Wings 94.3.
Play hard, play to win. But when sports injuries occur, you can rely on Encore. Our professional team treats all types of sports-related injuries for athletes of all ages. Our licensed therapists work closely with the patient, your family, and physician to get you back into action quickly and safely. At Encore, we love to see you move. Log on to EncoreRehab.com for a location near you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We are now going to get into the offensive breakdown with James Tippins. James, what did you see from the Tigers' offense last week against Opelika?
Yeah, Reese, I really saw a lot, but really something that stuck out to me was Casey Myers, man. I mean, he played out of his mind. 245 yards. He was also leading rusher for Auburn with 87 yards. He also caught a passing touchdown, which is insane to see. But, you know, I really love the grit he showed against Opelika, a really good defensive team, and really just showed out for the offense last week.
Yeah, I mean, Casey Myers, you know, solid quarterback, came in from Pike Road, actually transferred. That Booker game, we had looming questions after that Booker game, and obviously going into the Vestavia Hills game after Auburn dropped that one. But Casey Myers able to get back on his feet again against Opelika, and we'll see what he can do this week against Enterprise.
Yep, can't wait.
But Cherish, what did you see from the Auburn defense and special teams last week against Opelika?
Thanks, Reese. Now let's talk about a Tiger unit that was absolutely relentless last week with 3 sacks and coming back with linebacker Greg Williams with 14 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. Right behind him was Aiden Parker with 13 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. We had 2 interceptions last game, and our special teams wasn't that good, but we're looking forward to being better this week.
Yeah, I mean, the special teams last week, Joseph Daniel had 2 kicks blocked and missed 2 as well. And then the defense last week came up big. I think that's one of the touching points we've had this season is like, the defense has been so good. Like that first game against Booker gave up 6 points. The defense not necessarily so good against that Vestavia Hills team week 2, but bounced back against Opelika, and I look to see them continue that stretch tonight. But now we're going to take a quick break as you guys will listen to the Tiger Communications Coaches Show, and we will be back with some of our game picks, so don't go away.
And as we are joined each and every week, Coach Goolsby, Coach Ferguson, Coach Oliver, all 3 joining us here after another win over Opelika. It's gotten to be a habit for you guys the last few years. How are we doing this week?
Doing pretty well. How about you?
Hey, doing fine. I was out there. Me and Mr. Walter Northcutt took the game in, and I mentioned this to Coach Ferguson after the game. From the end zone, I was told not to stay on the sideline. Now, let me say this. I got to admit something because I didn't tell you on Friday night. I was on the Auburn sideline for a little bit.
Okay.
It was when you scored the first touchdown.
You should have stayed.
And I can't
Did
win.
you leave right before the
win.
turnover in the second half?
That's exactly what you did. We take that opening kickoff for the second half, and you walked to the middle.
No. I can say I didn't. It was the end of the first quarter. I moved around to the Opelika sideline, and then at halftime I went behind the the end zone and stood there for the second half. So I was in the end zone for the second half. Yeah. But I was there for the very creative touchdown pass to open up the scoring in that game. We'll get to that in just a moment. But, guys, just from you guys' point of view, how did things go down Friday night?
I mean, defensively, I thought it went down to script, you know. I mean, we were coming off being embarrassed the week before, and, you know, we talked to the kids about kind of getting back in our groove and doing the little things that make us successful on defense. And, you know, we did that all week in practice. We had a great week of practice, great film session. Everybody was locked in. You know, they were locked in pregame, and they just went out there and did the small things better than we've done all year. We talked about playing with extreme physicality and making sure we're the most physical team, because Opelika is a big physical team. You know, we wanted to match it and then just beat it. And, you know, you go back and watch the film, all 11 guys were playing physical. You know, sometimes you get a DB that may not. Our corners were physical. Our safeties were physical. We were, you know, physical at the line of scrimmage. Did a great job at linebacker getting off of blocks. And so, you know, the only disappointing thing was we got tired at the end, got gassed a little bit, and Opelika started leaning on us a little bit and running the ball with that big old line and that big running back. But, you know, lucky for us, we got a turnover there at the end and worked out for us.
Yeah, offensively, I think we took another step on on Thursday. Sorry, but we got the penalties, man. We got to get better at. You know, we can't afford to have as many penalties as we did Friday night. I think offensively we were best on the bookends. You know, really early scoring a touchdown, and then when we really needed a drive, you know, late there in the game, you know, getting one back in. I thought we moved the ball well. I thought we distributed the ball well. And we're starting to figure some things out up front. So I think we took another step, minus the penalties, but we got to cut out those small things that will just kill a drive and kill our offense.
So looking at how the game broke down and looking at that first half, you guys go down, and the first touchdown of the game is a little bit of, as I like to call it, a little bit of razzle-dazzle for that first score. Did y'all have any sort of did y'all go into the game knowing that y'all were going to run something like that, or was that a on the fly call?
Okay, so that was what we call the E special.
Okay.
All right, so Coach E, obviously being the head coach, gets to interject in anything going on with the team. So, like, he likes to come up with a play every blue moon, you know, for certain games where he wants to put in a play that he's run probably from his thousands of years of coaching football. Sure. And we whatever week that is, we just call it the E special. Coach E put that in on Sunday. We worked it with the kids throughout the week, and he chose when we ran it. You know, other than that, you know, he let Coach Wag do his thing. But, you know, again, Coach E, you know, with all his knowledge and how long he's been coaching, he picked the right time to call it, and it worked to perfection.
It did. It landed right in front of me. Is where in that end zone where I was standing. I had to step back because I was scared the ball was going to come over to me, but it was right in front of me. I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe. I saw the reverse, and then I was like, oh, they're going to run, and then he pulled up to throw, and I was like, wait a minute.
That's all Coach E.
I was like I said, I was standing right in front of there. I didn't even see the quarterback coming over toward me. As soon as he let go of the ball, I'm like, oh, he's out of the picture. And I guess that's what y'all were going for. Is you weren't looking for that.
Yeah. We didn't know they were going to run it.
That's what I was about to say. Like, on the headset, we were talking like, guys, have we ever ran that in practice like one single time? Because we hadn't seen it on defense. Like, you know, every once in a while they'll try something out, maybe against our scout team or maybe against the ones or twos or something. And we were talking on the headset like, that was perfect for something that we had no idea was even in the playbook. Like, you could have ran it against us, and we practiced with them every day. It would have hit. And it was awesome. It was really cool to see.
As you walked through that game and worked through it, it was a grind. The best way I could describe that game was a grind from both sides of the ball, offense and defensively. You know, on defensively, you guys keeping that Opelika offense at bay, only allowing 10 points on the evening, and offensively just trying to get down there and get some scores and get up. Was that how you guys were feeling? Is that as it going on, you're like, man, this is rough. This is tough football right here.
That's exactly how we want games to go, I think, on our side of the ball specifically. I mean, we had, I think, 3 or 4 short fields that night where they either got the ball at the 50 or going in. And, you know, our guys did a great job grinding. And that's what we prepare for. And we love it on the headset. Between series, we'll get back together and start talking to each other and talk about how much we just enjoy games like that. Obviously, it's fun to light up the scoreboard for these guys, and we'd love to crush everybody we play. But when it comes down to us and the game is up to us to make a stop, man, that's a perfect place for us to be in.
It's fun because the kids were locked in. You know what I mean? Like, I had confidence going into that game because of the way we prepared.
Yeah.
But then as the game got going and I saw how we were striking people and hitting, and I saw their attitudes on the sideline, I thought, man, we're going to have fun because whether we win or lose, they were just locked into the game and having fun playing. That's what we told them at halftime. Like, we got another half of this, but we're not asking you to go – we're not asking you to go do something hard. Like, we're getting to go play a football game in front of a great crowd against your rival. Like, let's go have fun with that.
Speaking of that crowd, before we keep going with this, with breaking down that game, how is it when you go on the road? You go on the road to all these different places. Some of them are 2 hours plus riding on a bus, and you always have a good crowd follow you, but you're not basically playing in your backyard like you were this past week, where the stands are packed. You basically had what looked like a home game student section that was there. What is that like, where you were there, and it feels like it's not, but it feels like a 50-50 crowd?
Yeah, it never gets old to play in a game like that. I was actually talking to Coach Harris, a new defensive coach with us this year, who's been a head coach and been a really good coach for a long time and played in big games. And I was talking to him pregame. I was like, You've never seen anything like this before. And we just had a good moment of that. And it just reminds us, this is my 5th year coaching, and it's so awesome to be a part of, man, to have these two communities so locked in and bought into these two programs. It's a lot of fun, and I hope it never gets old. I don't think it ever will, because like you said, people come out of the woodwork for the game. It means a lot, and we talk about it for 365 days for sure.
That's right.
If you can pack Bulldog Stadium and you can pack the Duck, you're asking for a great high school football atmosphere.
That's right.
You get a lot of fans at Central, but just the way their stadium is made, the noise kind of escapes. But if you pack the Duck and you pack Bulldog Stadium, you're about to have an electric atmosphere at a football game.
So back to the stuff on the action on the field. A little bit of field goal trouble for you guys, and then you open up the second half. You kind of referred to it, some miscues to start the second half in there. At that point, after you'd had the field goal troubles, y'all were still in the lead there, and you get that second half. What is that mentality like on the sideline, where you're trying to make sure that everybody stays on that same page?
For us, it's like your defense playing so great, like help them guys out. Like they were giving us short fields, and like I said, the penalties and things like that stall and back us up on drives. Like it gets very frustrating because your defense is playing so great, and we want to reward our team and reward those guys by putting points on the board. We also want to give them time to get rest, put together drives, and we would do that at times, and then we'll get penalties and then sputter out. But you just got to keep the faith. You keep working on keep harping on the things that you harped on all week, remembering where you are, remembering what kind of game we're playing, remembering what's all on the line. And our kids do a really good job, I think, on both sides of the ball, obviously being led by our coaching staff, are staying in the moment, staying calm, and executing even when it's at your last. I mean, you think about it, the last 2 times we played Opelika is a turnover on a drive where they could possibly win the game. To me, that's resilience right there of our kids, not giving up and staying the course.
So let's flip it over to the defensive side. Last drive that you guys are on the field defensively, what's going through your guys' mind? What's the mentality like? What's the conversations like as y'all are trying to get that last stop?
Well, we're discussing, G. Ferg and I were discussing a particular alignment, going back and forth, and then I'm just steadily going, God, we're just so tired. They're just laying on us, and we're trying. And they're going fast because they realize we're a little bit gassed, and I'm trying to get a call in, and I'm frustrated because they're not getting any of the calls because they're going fast and they're tired. And so it was a lot of that, and then I think, did we call the timeout at the end? We did, right? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
We called the timeout down there at the end, and that was great because it allowed us to get our goal line defense package out there. And I don't know if that had anything to do with the turnover, but I told Colin and Kyle this week, I said, I think it probably did because y'all are 2 monsters that are right over the center. Like that probably had something. I don't know if it did, but I told them that because I want them to believe that. But it wasn't chaos, but it was like you know, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I was pretty calm, obviously hoping they don't go down their score, but I was trusting our guys that somebody's going to step up and do something here, you know.
And, you know, B. Hall was just on the radio with you. He's at Poca now. He was with us for a couple years, and he always said something that's going to stick with me forever is like, he told our guys, I won't directly quote him, but they can put the ball wherever they want. They can put the ball at the 1 yard line, and we're going to give it everything we got. We're going to play our guts out. And I think, as D said, that's the resilience that our guys have. And that's just the kind of kids that we have in our program. And I'm super proud of them for being resilient. And just, it doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter if they get the call that we want them to get or not. They're going to go out there and execute and do everything in their power to make a play. And that's just really awesome to be a part of.
That's awesome. Well, before we move on and check out this week's opponent, I need a player of the week for you guys to nominate for the Waldo's Chicken Player of the Week.
Well, I mean, we talked about 2 guys, but Greg Williams, one of our linebackers, G-Ferd coaches, and he had 12 tackles, 3 for a loss, scoop and score, touchdown, called back on a phantom penalty, PBU, a sack, fumble recovery. I mean, crazy stat line. And so Greg Williams is our player of the week.
Excellent. So when you see a guy put out that kind of effort in a rivalry game, what is that like when you've watched him do that in practice all week and just grind all season, and then you get under some of the biggest lights that you can in this area, and he does something like that?
Man, it's really awesome. I'm going to try my best not to get emotional, but just to see that kid who has come in here and has bought into our program and has given everything that he's got. And, you know, I have coaches that come in, and in the offseason we try to sell the kids to of college coaches that, you know, give them an opportunity to play at the next level. And you have people that come in and just say, hey, you know, this kid's not good enough, or this kid's 2 inches too short, whatever the heck they want to come up with. To see him ball out in a game like that, the first person after the game I text is the guy that told me that he was 2 inches too short and said, this is the kind of player that you're passing up on, because that's the kind of kid he is every single day. And, I mean, it's just so awesome to see him. And he's a ball player, man. It has nothing to do, 100% has nothing to do with the coaching that he receives. That kid is a stud, and he gives his heart for our school every single game, and I'm expecting him to do it Friday night again.
That's awesome.
I tell you, as an offensive guy, I'm glad that dude played for us. See him every day on the other side. I'm glad he played for us, man.
Well, let's look at this week now as you guys return home to the Duck after 2 weeks away. You get to host the Enterprise Wildcats, a team coming off of a loss last week to go 0-1 in the region. What have you guys seen from them this year? I'm assuming it's the same kind of offense. You don't see that often.
Well, actually, no. Dothan's running that now.
Okay.
They're back to kind of a spread, you know, kind of, I guess, normal kind of offense, I guess. But they've got 2 big tight ends, you know, and a quarterback that's a dual threat guy that can run it and he can throw it, and you know they're 260, 280 across the front. You know, a couple wide receivers that can go. And the thing we've told our kids defensively is they're where we were after the Vestavia game. They got embarrassed last week, and they're a proud program. Was in the semifinals last year, just like we are. And so they're not going to come out here and just lay down. You know, they're going to come out here and, you know, they're 0-1 in the region. You go 0-2 in our region, start off. That's tough, especially with Opelika Central and Carver that they got left.
Oh yeah.
You know, they got to come out and get a win, and they've beaten us before. And so we got to make sure that, just like last week, we prepare well. We're ready to go match the intensity that they're going to bring coming off that embarrassment from last week.
Defensively, they're going to come out in a 4-man front, 4-3. You know, multiple looks on the back end. They are really long up front, really long up front. They got two guys at defensive end on both sides, bookends. They are listed at 6'5". So they're really long up front. They got a really good middle linebacker returning. And like I said, the secondary is athletic. This is a huge ball game. Just like G was just saying, you know, they're 0-1, and then they got us this week, and then they got Central next week. And I'm gonna tell you, you know, if you follow Enterprise, the Enterprise teams that you want to give a slight to or overlook, them the ones that'll beat you. I mean, you just think back. Look back, like, you know, the year we went to the state championship game, the second time we went to the state championship game in school history, that's who we lost to that year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I felt like we had a better team that year. Look what they did to Carver last year. You know how good Carver was, and you know they beat us last home game. You know we played here. You know, so when you underestimate them guys, them that's the time that they come out ready to play. So this is a huge ball game.
That's right. That's right. And we want to make sure that the Duck is packed. We don't have to sell you on it. The Duck gets packed almost every Friday night anyway. But make sure you get your tickets early. Go fan. If there's any left over, they'll be at the gate. But just like last week at Opelika, you guys do not want tickets to be available at the gate. You guys want to pack that place out beforehand. So get them early on GoFan. Enterprise comes to town this Friday night. It's the last time in September you're going to get to see the only time in September you're going to get to see Auburn High at the Duck, because there'll be 2 road games following this one coming up the next 2 weeks after Enterprise. So make sure you get out there and check out this Auburn High team. Guys, thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules here this evening. It's a Friday night, so y'all get to enjoy another day of practice this week, unlike the last 2. And hopefully, when you guys rejoin us next week, we'll talk about another Auburn High win over Enterprise.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AHS Countdown. And we're going to get right into our game picks. Our first matchup is Dothan versus Central. Dothan coming in this matchup 3-0, and Central also coming in here 3-0. Who do you guys have between Dothan and Central?
Yeah, Reese, I have Dothan carrying the momentum from last week. Big win. I think they pick up another one versus Central this week.
Yeah, big one.
I don't want to go against you there, James, but I have Central this week.
Yeah, Central has a lot of momentum coming in this one. This is a big region matchup, big implications. I know playoffs later in the season, but this could be big for both those teams to try to get a good seed in the playoffs. But our next matchup up is also another region game between Carver and Smith Station. Who you guys have in that one?
Yeah, I've got Carver. I think they're just too physical up front. They overwhelmed Smith Station today.
Yeah.
I'll agree. I'm with Carver.
Yeah, Carver, coming off only one loss. Thompson, their loss a few weeks ago, but Carver's gotten the momentum the past few weeks with 2 straight wins. So looking forward to seeing that one on Friday night. But our next game up is Baker and Jackson. Jackson has Landon Duckworth at quarterback, a standout quarterback, actually, committed to South Carolina. So who do you guys have in this game?
Yeah, I think Baker just wins this one. I think they just overwhelm Jackson, just get this win.
Going with the upset there.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm looking forward to seeing Jackson play and hoping they win.
Yeah, Jackson, pretty good team. First game of the year, they did drop that one. They gave up 17 points, which is the most they've given up all season. So looking forward to seeing that game as well. And our next game up is 3-0 Hewitt-Trussville versus 1-2 Hoover. Hoover dropped their first game against IMG Academy. IMG Academy came all the way from Bradenton, Florida. So who do you guys have between Hewitt and Hoover?
Yeah, I think Hewitt-Trussville just gets this win. I think Hoover this year has just looked pretty poor offensively. I think Hewitt-Trussville gets it done today.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that too.
I also agree. Offense is a big part, so I agree.
Yeah, Hoover, trying to gain the momentum after dropping that game against IMG and also dropping another game. So Hoover hopefully bounces back to get back to 500 and go 2-2. But our other region game we're going to highlight is Opelika versus Jag. Who do you guys have in that one?
Yeah, I've got Opelika. Just too big up front. I think Opelika gets it done.
I agree with you, Opelika. I think they're going to have this one in the bag.
Yeah, Jag, hasn't had a lot of success recently in the past few years, so Opelika, I think, could get this win possibly. And our next game up is Hillcrest, who's 3-0 versus 2-1 Vestavia Hills. Who do you guys have in that one?
Yeah, I like Hillcrest's offense. Run the triple option a little bit. I think they overwhelm Vestavia today and get it done.
I'm liking Vestavia Hills this Friday.
Yeah, Vestavia dropped one last week, but hoping to bounce back and get back in the win column again to go 3-1. And Vestavia Hills at home, so you saw Auburn lost to Vestavia Hills at home, so home field advantage for Vestavia is really good. And our last but not least game is Auburn versus Enterprise, the game that we are covering, obviously. Who do you guys have in that one?
Yeah, Reese, just really a marquee matchup for both of these teams. Just really a must-win game for both. And I've got Auburn taking it home today.
Why wouldn't I have Auburn? Let's go Tigers.
And Auburn, coming in, winning against Opelika, their rivals. Enterprise coming off a tough loss. I'm going to have to say I'm going to go with Auburn here. I think Auburn's going to get a big win at home and bounce back. And, 4 straight home games for Auburn, so definitely a momentum switching to their side as we get closer towards the playoffs coming up in October. So now let's move into the keys to the game for tonight. And James, what is your key to the game for the Auburn Tigers?
Yeah, Reese, I'm really looking for Auburn to establish the run game early. Enterprise last week really struggled defending the run. I'm hoping that Auburn can just run the ball well tonight and get the big time win.
Yeah, Auburn, last year losing Omar Mapson, some new running backs coming in this year, and be interested to see if Auburn can get the run game going since we haven't seen it much so far to start the season. And Cherish, what is your key to the game for the Enterprise Wildcats tonight?
For Enterprise, I think the key to the game is protecting the ball and finishing their drives. If they can limit their turnovers and take advantage of the red zone changes, I think they'll have it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last game we saw Enterprise wasn't able to, get to the red zone much. Gave up 69 points last week against Dothan and only scored 28. So, be interested to see what the Wildcats can do tonight. But that is going to do it for AHS Countdown. I'm your host, Reese Kinder. Hope you guys enjoy this match, and we'll see you at the kick.